Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cloud Google Workspace training series. Today, we are going to be focusing on advanced docs, sheets, and slides, our editors for our end users or all users for that instance. We, a couple months ago, did another webinar that was just the basics for the editors for docs, sheets, and slides. So I highly recommend you check that one out if you need it. You can go back and find that in our archive. We went through a lot of the basics for each of the editors. For docs, we went over general formatting, images, links, tables, some headers, printing, stuff like that. We'll be expanding on some new functionalities or new features. In Sheets, we went over things about how to edit cells, what are inserting and deleting rows, extrapolating dates, general formatting options, borders, alignment, alternating colors, and we just did a simple sum formula in there. So we'll build on that as well. And then for slides, we immediately jumped into themes and layouts and slide design. Again, more formatting, images, cropping with images, presenter view and speaker notes, and then some other pieces in there as well. And we're going to be kind of building off of that today and going a little bit deeper into slides. I want to bring your attention to these resources. Google Workspace Learning Center has some really great pages and tutorials that help walk you through understanding how to best use these tools. And if you're somebody who's hoping to move from Office or in the process of moving from Office, or you just need to figure out how do I do this in Docs when I did it in Word, they've got a really great switching to guide for each of these tools. So check that out. If you don't want to go ahead and check out the switching to guide, there's a lot of just in-depth, hey, do this examples. There's also some basic certifications that you can do to get some more practice with these products as well. All right, so we're going to dive into just demoing today. So I've got my couple of documents at the top here, a couple of files that were from our last session. I haven't touched them since October 28th, which is, I guess, many months ago when we did all this. So when we went through some of the basics, this is what we ended up with. Not particularly beautiful, but it was a great way for us to demo tables and formatting and images and links and so on and so forth. So we're going to build off of that a little bit, and I've got a random slew of things I want you to know about. So one of them is, again, about formatting, since we were talking about that a lot, is there's a way to what they call paint formatting, or copying a format and applying it to something else, and to clear formatting. So if I were to start writing the story about T and the life of me, this is an incredible story with a twist at the end. Okay, and I've got this beautiful thing, this beautiful story. I'm going to go ahead and actually make it really, really long, which is make it look a little bit more like a full story. And I want to add some text formatting in here. So maybe I really want, anytime I've got this little phrase right here, I want it to be bold, and I want it to be brown. Just choosing something that's a little bit different. What I can do, if I want to go ahead and apply this formatting, I'll even zoom in a little bit for us here. If I want to apply this formatting, this really specific, I'll go ahead and even change the font here for us. I don't like that guy. There we go. If I don't want to be able to apply this exact formatting to other text, instead of highlighting the next instance of this and saying, I'm going to change the font, I'm going to change the color, I'm going to do all those things independently, I can go ahead and copy this formatting by highlighting this, or even just putting my cursor in the middle of it all, and hitting this little paintbrush button up here. This paint format button is going to copy all the formatting that's part of that text. You can see that this is highlighted blue now because I clicked it once, and it's copied in. And you can see now as I highlight and hover, I've got a little paintbrush with my little cursor there. If I click and highlight over this text, it's going to go ahead and apply that paint that formatting onto that other piece. This could be a real time saver, and I really, really love it. I think it's a great little feature. Then there's this other one way over on the other side that says clear formatting. So if I were to highlight over something and click this, it's going to remove any and all formatting for that text. So two things that have great power and do very opposite things. But I really love the paint formatting paintbrush there. All right, let's get into some more semantic stuff. So headers and footers. You got a multi-page document, just like a book, right? A multi-page document. And I want to go ahead and have a header. So there's a couple different ways you could do this. Probably the easiest way is to go insert, headers, and then you've got your header and your footer option. I'm going to add my header here, Nick Marchese, and then I can go ahead and tab over if I want to go ahead and add some more information, and clearly that's too big, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And now I have this. So now if I have another page, I will see that header on all of the pages. Or if I go back into my header here by double clicking, I can say, I want to make my header different on the first page, right? Maybe you have a cover that you don't want the header on, but you want every page after that to have its own specific header. You could check this box and be able to go ahead and do things that are specific to the first page versus the other pages. You could also insert page numbers into that header as well. You can say, oh, in my header, I want to start at page 1 and I want to show it on the first page. And I've got page numbers in there. So it'll automatically add page numbers in there for you. Maybe I actually don't want page numbers in my header. Let's go ahead and see if I get rid of my page numbers for a second. But I want to go ahead and insert a footer. So I'm going to go insert a footer. It'll bring me to the bottom. And I want to add my page number to the footer. So that way I can easily see the page number at the very bottom. Okay, super exciting. This is my cover. I don't want to do much else here. Actually, let's do something different. Let's pretend that this is my first chapter. And I typed it here, but instead of like sitting here and hitting return a whole bunch of times like this to bring it to the next page, we can add a break. So if I go back to my insert here, there's a couple of different break options. And like the one we're going to use here is going to be a page break. So that means where my cursor is, I want to just stop everything below it and add it to a new page. So I'm going to go ahead and hit insert, break, page break. And you can see, let me zoom back out a little bit. Oh, wrong button. This is where the break started. And then I can go down to page 2 and I can see I have my text on the new page. And you could also see my header here and my footer with the page numbers. It's automatically coming through. So page breaks are a really big thing if you have a multi-page document that I highly recommend checking out. I want to add a chapter 1 to this, and I'm going to add something from our last chat about textiles. I'm going to go ahead and hit heading 1 so I can see chapter 1's there and it's good to go. I'm going to copy all of this for my chapter 2 and add a page break here to break it up and add. There we go. Now I've got chapter 1, chapter 2, all that jazz. Why I wanted to add in some text formatting with our headers and stuff here, because I also want to be able to add in what I think is one of the coolest things are a table of contents. So if I go back into my favorite little insert drop down here, if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's this thing called table of contents. And there's two options. One is just like a blue linkable one where you can click the links, it'll bring you to the right pages, or this one that doesn't have the links, but it says the page numbers. So I'm going to add that in here. And all of a sudden I have chapter 1 and chapter 2, and it's going to update based off of the headers that I have below. So if I change this to be chapter 1, the beginning, I can go back up here and I can click my table of contents, and then I can click refresh, and it will update that. And it'll tell me what page number it's on and so on and so forth. Very cool. I love the table of contents feature. It's really great if you've got something that's really big. But keep in mind, it is pulling, what it is pulling in here is text formatting that is not just normal text, but it is header 1, heading 2, so on and so forth. Okay. I'm noticing that my cursor is a little bit out of sorts compared to where I am on my screen, so I apologize for that. Okay, a couple other things. Adding in links. We talked a little bit about links last time. Here's our link, right? We can add a link in here. But there's also some other cool things now with what called smart chips. So I can go ahead and add a link in here by doing a couple of different things. I'm going to grab my spreadsheet that we'll talk about in a moment and paste that link in here. You notice if I paste it in there, I get this little pop-up that says, hit tab to replace it with what the title as a little spreadsheet, so, or as a little smart chip. So now it's in here as a link, but it looks a little bit nicer. It looks a little bit cleaner. It's also easier to move around. So smart chips are easy to create based off of linking different documents into different files. All right. Last few things before we get rolling here. There's a lot of stuff in Docs I want to talk about. There's the ability to insert charts directly in here. So if you want to insert a pie chart in here, what it will do is it will create just a template of a chart for you. It'll also go ahead and make a spreadsheet with the data linked to that chart. And then you can go ahead and double click on this and go ahead and grab this and go and open the spreadsheet, change the data, move stuff around. So instead of going to sheets, creating a chart and then importing it, you can kind of do it the other way, which is really kind of nice. And one or two more things that I really want to show off are building blocks and watermarks. So we'll just start with watermarks. So if I go insert and I go to watermark, you can see it's a new feature. What I can do is I can add a watermark to my page. So that way, especially if I'm going to print it out or send it as PDF or something, it's watermarked either with a company logo or an image or something, or I'm just going to add some text, Cloud asked, and I'll do it bold and so on and so forth, right? And I can see it's kind of in the background here. Maybe I'll make it confidential, or let's do draft because it's my favorite, my book. And I've got this nice watermark in the background, which is very cool. All right. Last thing that I want to show off in Docs is going to be easier to see if I make a new document. So I'm going to go File, New, and then I'm going to hit Doc. And I'm going to make a new document here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Insert. And I'm going to go scroll halfway down here to Building Blocks. And I imagine Building Blocks is just going to get better and better and better. But right now they have this building block, which is already great, called Meeting Notes. Building blocks are basically templates. That's how I'd like to think of them, but they're a little bit more advanced. So if I click this Meeting Notes building block, what it will do is it'll say, hey, what calendar event do you want to link this Meeting Notes agenda to? I'm going to go ahead and click the one that I have for next week. And what it will do, it will go ahead and add in some of the people that are in that meeting, some of the files that are attached to it. Do I want to share this meeting notes agenda document with those people? I do. So I would click that share button. And then I've got this nice template all laid out for me where I can start adding in notes, adding in action items, and I don't have to go ahead and do all the logistics of making it look pretty. So that's a really cool thing, and keep an eye on building blocks to expand moving forward. All right, let's jump over to Sheets. So this is our sheet that we did last time, where we figured out different dates and we figured out different participants, so on and so forth. I was making a lot of random numbers, and I'm going to add some more random numbers. Okay, a couple of things that I want to show off here. Decimals and merging and so on and so forth. So let's say I wanted to merge some cells because I wanted the formatting to look different. So maybe I wanted to bring these two cells together for some reason. Maybe there's something that looks a little bit odd, or I want to make it small, a little bit more concise. I can highlight different cells and I can hit this like merge cells button, which will basically just like change how this looks, right? So I can see it's further apart now. I could still go ahead and change where the alignment is, if it's the left or the right, in the middle, you know, up and down, all that jazz. But maybe you want to go ahead and make some spacing different and merge some cells. It's also easy to select a merge cell, click the button again, and it will unmerge them. Okay, some decimals and formatting stuff we didn't quite get into. Participants is a pretty round number. Let's pretend that we had 50.5. We had 50 and a half participants at one particular thing. I can go ahead and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see this better. I can click on this cell and then go up to this little data. Underneath the data, there's these couple zeros. It says increase decimal places or decrease decimal places, right? So I can go ahead and increase my decimal points or bring them down if I want to do some rounding, right? I'm going to call that 51 people, not 50 and a half. And I could change the formatting for my different numbers, right? So these are all just like plain numbers. I click this little number format button, and it's automatic in this try and sense what kind of number it is. It's automatically realizing that they are dates. You can see, even though it says 1028 here, up in the little field here, it says 1028, 2021. So it's trying to recognize what it is. If you wanted to, we can go ahead and change this to other formats as well. I'll show you what that's going to look like in a minute. I want to add in, let me see what I'm going to do here. I'm going to make a new column at the very beginning. So I'm going to go ahead and click on column A. I'm going to right click here, or I can just go insert, doesn't really matter, and hit insert column to the left. This is too wide for what I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and bring it down. So I'm going to go ahead and title this column completed. And then here I'm going to add some checkboxes. So on a little hack, I'm going to go ahead and highlight all these. So it does it for everything and insert a checkbox. So now what I can do, checkboxes are really great, especially if you're doing some project management or anything like that. I can just check these off, say, yep, these have all been done, so on and so forth. And we can add a couple more as we go through here. Checkboxes are really great, really super, really great. A couple other things. I want to show another formula type thing. So maybe I want to say attendees, and I have my automatic alternating colors. You see it's constantly going to build. So for my attendees, I will say on the 20th, I had 120 people arrive, but there were 285 that RSVP'd, and then percentage. So now I want to see how many of the people who signed up, signups, actually attended. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to hit my equals, and if I just do that once, it's going to say, oh, I think I know what you're trying to do. It's saying, do you want to divide this by this? So that might be the formula that you're looking for. It might not be. We can go ahead and hit that. We can see, okay, well, 0.42 is not really what I'm looking for. Right, so like maybe if I go to my number formats here and I change this to percentage, I can now see that, right, I had 42% of the people who signed up attended. So that's a really great way to add in more formulas and more number formatting and different things like that. A couple of other pieces, right? So like I'm going to go ahead and we talked about extrapolating data last time by double clicking on this little guy here. I'm going to go ahead and do this for everything. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this up, and I'm going to go ahead and drag it down. So I could see if I pretended there were 120 attendees at every single event, I could see the percentages of people who actually signed up, attended versus signups here. Really quick, really easy to be able to make that data happen. A couple of other pieces here. Maybe you want to go ahead and chart this out and see what this looks like. I'm going to go ahead and just hit insert, and I'm going to create a chart. And I'm going to go ahead and we could do a whole big thing on charts. Actually, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to go ahead and highlight all this data. If I go insert and bring up a chart, it's going to go ahead and try and figure out what kind of data and what kind of chart I'm looking for. This is something that like you have to play around and like get the data to work for you. And we'll do a whole thing probably on charts another day. But I just want to show you how you can go ahead and bring that data quickly into a chart. Last piece I want to just indicate right here is about data cleanup. So up in this data field up here, we have a whole bunch of data cleanup things that we could do in here. So there's this cleanup suggestions. So Google's trying to say, hey, this is actually what you probably want to be cleaning up. There's removing duplicates. So maybe you have a long list of names and stuff like that you want to remove duplicates out of it. It's really helpful. And trimming white space. So maybe you have too much space on the sides, and instead of doing it manually, it'll clean it up for you. If I hit my cleanup suggestions, you can see like, oh, there's nothing here, and that's nothing. So I don't have to necessarily worry about what we're looking for. Let's see. I know I'm going pretty speedy, but hopefully this is pretty helpful. And there's one more piece I wanted to show you. If I have a cell that has a lot of names in it or something that you want to divide out, right? Maybe you had to copy and paste something in there, but actually you need a lot of different cells, like Nick, cloudy, weather, webinar. Like this is fine, but like I want it to be separated so I can designate it for different data. If I go ahead and select that and I go back up to data, hit split text to columns, it'll automatically detect that there's a comma separating them and to put them in different cells. You can also change what that separator is. It might not be a comma. Maybe you want it to be after a colon or so on and so forth. You can go ahead and change that. All right, enough with sheets for today, and we're going to pop over to slides. Slides we didn't get too deep into last time. We made some really beautiful slides about tea, and we brought some images in. We were able to go ahead and add speaker notes, and so on and so forth. We're going to kind of lean into this a little bit more. Okay, so this background button we didn't really look at last time, but I want to show you what it is. Basically, if I want to change the background color based off of the theme that I'm in or not, I can go ahead and just click that and it'll change it for the whole thing. You're kind of overriding the theme that we did, but in case you do want to do that, you want to throw images to the background, the option is there. We didn't talk about shapes last time very much, so I'm going to go ahead and show you here. We have a couple things. We have shapes and we have lines. If I click on shapes, you can see I've got a whole bunch of shapes here, outlines of shapes, arrows, little callouts, speech bubbles, equations. It's a lot of things you can do here. If you go ahead and click on any of these, I'm going to bring one in here, and click and drag that. And then when you have this shape, you can go ahead and change the fill color, the inside or border color. I'm going to make this blue. How thick you want that border to be? Do you want it to be spotted? So on and so forth. And you can go ahead and add in different shapes. I'm going to add in some lines or some arrows here. Right, here's my arrow. I'm going to point it to my T. And you want to go ahead and say, this is going to be a really thick arrow and change the color as well. Right, so where you have to go ahead and add those annotations to your slide to show your details a little bit more closely. Your arrows or shapes, being able to highlight things is really, really helpful. Okay, let's go to another slide because I made a mess of this one. I'm going to make a new slide here. Okay, here's a title. So this is going to be for video, well, can't spell, video, audio, charts. So what I can do here is I want to add more things. So I want to go back to insert, and I can add a couple things. I can insert audio. So if I click audio, I can search on my drive for any audio files I have and insert them to the slide. This way, those would be like a little speaker icon, and you can just press it when you're in your presentation and listen to it. It has to be stored on your drive. I can go back, insert, and go to video. So here I can search from YouTube and bring in a video. I can bring in a YouTube URL here if I don't want to search for it. Or if I have any videos on Drive, here's videos of me. I can go ahead and grab a video of me talking about other things. And I've got this video embedded. It's a very large video. Let me bring it a little bit smaller. Embed it in here. And then I've got a couple different video playback options. Do I want it to start right away? Do I want it to start in the middle? And so on and so forth. And the last thing in here is you could also, kind of like in Docs, put a chart in. So you could insert a new chart. Say, I'm going to insert a new line chart. So it's going to make a demo for you and create a spreadsheet for you to be able to edit the data. Or you can do insert chart. And you can, if you have a chart already in a spreadsheet, you can insert it from sheets. You can do the same in Docs. We just didn't talk about it. Okay. Three more things here. Maybe you're ready to present this. This looks fine. Oh, it's great, but you know, this was the version of this slide that you wanted. This was an old iteration that you're not really interested in, but you want to keep it in case you need to go back and change it later and you want to reuse it. So what you can do is if you right click on any of these slides, I'm going to right click on this slide, zoom back out. There's this little button here called skip slide. And what this does, you'll see it gives a little hide icon there. And now when I present, I'm going to go ahead and put it in presenter view, see if you can see it okay. Awesome. It's going to skip that first slide that didn't have all the annotations on it. It still exists in my slideshow, but that first one is not there anymore. It's not going to be presented. So it's a good way to like have stuff still in there, but like be able to curate and personalize each presentation depending on what you actually want to be showing. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about transitions. So if I go to transitions here, I have to click out of everything. Like I don't want to have an image selected, otherwise I'm not going to see it. If I click on transitions, I can apply slide transitions between different slides. I can click on this and say, oh, I want to fade between the slides, and I want to apply this to all of my slides. So now what this will look like is if I hit play, it'll kind of do that transition where it just faded in for a hot second. You can see there, okay? And if you want to do something called build transitions or animations, so again, really pretty terrible looking slide, but we're going to work with it. If I click out of this entirely, I can click transition, or I can click on the image, and I can hit animate. And it's going to bring up the same thing. You see it says slide transition versus object animation. So this says, hey, I want to bring stuff in slowly. Build transitions or object animations are really, really helpful in pacing your data and your information so that your audience is listening to you and not just reading what's on your slides. So I want to, I'm going to go here. I'm going to say, I want this. I don't want this image. I want this text box is going to come in first, so I don't have to put anything there. And then I'm going to bring my image in. I'm going to click my image, hit add animation. I'm going to have a fade in on when I click, and this is the speed at which I want to bring it in. It's going to be over 1 second. And then I'm going to hit add another animation. I'm going to click this arrow, and then I'm going to click add animation. And what this is going to do is going to say, when I click again, then bring the arrow in. Okay, I'm going to do some other funky thing here to show that how this works. And then last but not least, I'll bring in this circle. I'm going to hit add animation. And the other options you can do here, instead of on click, I can say this comes after the previous one has appeared or with the previous one. I can click after. So that one's going to come in by default. And now I'm going to hit play to preview what this is. Okay, so I have those images on animation. So you can see this is where we are so far, this little yellow icon. I'm going to click once and my image is going to come in. I'm going to click again. And then my arrow is going to come in from the side. And then after my arrow came in, my weird looking circle comes in. So object animation, slide transitions, all super duper helpful and worth checking out. Okay, I know we ran through a lot of stuff very quickly and I spoke very fast. If you have any questions about anything, go check out these learning resources. They're there, they're helpful. We are also here to help you. So email us at webinars@cloudasta.com. We are more than happy to help you out with any questions that you might have. This is me just reiterating our email. In a couple weeks, we're going to be highlighting the new workspace features that have released in January. It's a little too tight of a window for us to talk about the ones that are releasing right now in February, since they might not all be rolled out yet. So that'll be in April. We will be able to see what those are. But if you have any questions, please reach out to us. Otherwise, I hope you've learned something and have a great rest of your day.